Writers MC here in Las Vegas, and
I'm Hollywood Black Patch, Las Vegas.
Cool. So how did we get our names? Like you've got this crazy name Hollywood, and I've got this crazy name Picasso, right?
I would hardly call mine crazy.
So this video is going to be about biker road names, right? So how do we get them? What's the evolution of this? So let's talk about that. How'd you get the name Hollywood?
All right. Well, as we've said in previous videos, we're in the entertainment business. I have a production company. I filmmaker, photographer, all that sort of stuff. I would generally do a lot of trips down to LA for work because that's where Hollywood is. And then my sponsor thought they'd just give me the name Hollywood. And as we'll go into the topic, I'm not thrilled by it, but I don't have a choice in it, to be honest. And you learn to love it after a while.
You learn to love it. And we've actually had members that really hated their road names a lot. And I'll talk about that in a little bit too. But again, you kind of, that's actually part of it. To me, having been in this community for so long, I've learned that when you get a road name that almost kind of sucks, it kind of makes you embrace it a lot. So, then you learn to appreciate it because it is such an oddball thing. So I got Picasso. So let's rewind a little bit. So how do you get a road name, right? A lot of people think you pick your own name. You don't. Generally, the protocol for this is you are assigned a road name. Usually when you're during the prospecting period, your club might come up with an idea. Yeah. Usually it's appointed by an officer of the club. Usually the president presents with a road name, but not always. But sometimes it can be voted on. And it's usually based on something you do, something you've said, something you maybe a walk of life that you have, a profession that you have. It could be any number of things. So like, for example, we had a guy who he kind of washed out, but we were going to call him. We actually had his patch made, but he washed out in the prospecting. But we were going to name it. Well, his story was every time we would see him, like we'd go on a ride, we'd be gassing up somewhere, we'd be in a restaurant or whatever. He had this knack of always like lighting a cigarette next to a gas pump, next to a propane tank, like every time, right? Yeah. And so we were going to call him Kaboom, right? Because that was the road name we had. But we had a cab driver who used to ride with us, right? And we called him Talk Show because the guy couldn't stop talking. Like it just like you got him started and you'd be sitting there for half an hour on like the simplest conversation, right? So we call him Talk Show because he just loved to talk. So I got Picasso. And I will share with you, and you kind of said that, when you first got your road name, you were like, oh, there's so many Hollywoods.
Yeah.
With me...
There's actually been a comment like, is every biker named Hollywood?
Hollywood, right, yeah, because there's a lot of them, right? There's a lot of them. But, but I run into like a lot of even obscure ones, so I've run into other Picassos before. I never
really?
I
thought yours was pretty unique.
In fact, I ran into a Picasso who was president of another club not too far from here. Yeah, that was even
hilarious.
Weirder. But the thing that's interesting is like I got my name. So our president of our club at the time was when I was kind of prospecting was, I'm a photographer. I do a lot of video work too, but I'm a photographer. And so one day I was showing him some of my work, right? Because, we were just talking and I was like, well, here's some of the stuff I do. And we were both kind of drunk at the time, right? I think we were at a party and we both got pretty drunk.
That's a bad time to make names.
Yeah, I know. Oh, no kidding,
Could be
right?
a good time. I don't know.
Usually not. But yeah, but he came, he's looking at my work and he's like, man, your stuff is like you do work like a Picasso. And I go, yeah, Picasso is a painter. I'm a photographer. He's like, yeah, I don't care. I'm calling you Picasso. That's your name. And it was like, okay, so that's how I got my name. And
that's cool.
But when I first got it, I was like, oh, God, Picasso. It's like, every time I'm thinking, I'm like, but I'm not I can't paint. I can't paint a stick figure.
When we first met, I was kind of confused about it because you were like, I'm a photographer. I was like, well, your name's Picasso.
I know. It makes no sense. Yeah. But I've learned to embrace it, and I love it now. And but when I first got it, I was like, it just makes no sense.
Same thing with Hollywood. Like I don't live in Hollywood, and I refuse to ever live there. To be honest.
Right, yeah, no kidding.
But here I am. I got a funny story about names, and then I guess we can get into like how you get them.
Sure.
And this kind of segues into that. We were at our one of our annuals campouts, and we had a prospect, and he had tried once. We dropped him, and he wanted to try again for prospecting. We said, you make it to here, we'll start thinking about you prospecting again. We're sitting around the fire pit, and we're talking about it, and we're like, talking about names. And he had a name previously from another club, and we're like, that's not... Yeah. He's like, that's my name. That's all I want.
We've dealt with that, too.
Yeah, and I'm like, we don't know that person. Like, those guys know that guy. And we're like, all right, well, we're joking around, and he wouldn't let it go. And he, for a job, he was a network technician. He basically worked repairing networks and internet and stuff like that. And we ended up thinking we'll call him Dial-Up because it takes him forever to get it.
That's great.
And everyone was laughing.
That's great.
But see, that's where you have to be careful. Like, so how you get your name is it's who you are. It's supposed to represent who you are and you kind of should be proud of the name because
Yeah.
your other brothers, and it may be a goofy one or a joke, but it's about who you are or the impact you've left on,
Right.
on the people around you. So.
We've had road names. We have one of our guys, one of our newer members, we named him First Stop, because every time he'd go on rides, he would make it to like the first stop, and then he'd be like, I got to go to work. I got something to do. I got something, you know. So we joke with him, and it was like, yeah, First Stop. We have one guy, one of our most recent patches, this guy gets lost on his own driveway. I mean, he gets lost everywhere. We'll send him out on a, you know, hey, could you run up the street to go get some ice over at the grocery store? And it's like literally a block away, and he'll take an hour.
Really?
And he's like, I got lost. So we named him Waldo because we can never find him. So, because like, where's Waldo, right? So that's his name.
See, and it's
but that's
not,
what makes it so great.
It's not meant to be make fun of you either.
No.
It's like a memory if you think about it.
Yeah.
It's
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. So go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was going to say another one of our guys. His name's Wood, because again, it seemed the name seemed to come at the annual. You know, like I don't know, because shenanigans happen, and he was a prospect. And we're walking around trying to find campfire wood, and we're walking the river, and there was this log. Like, I mean, it was about this, like that big around, right?
Right.
But like this long. It was. I mean, it definitely weighed 100+ pounds, I would think. And we joked like, "Hey, you should get this and bring it back to our campsite." And the campsite was, I mean, it was a far away, right? So whatever, we joke about it, right? And then we're sitting at the campsite later that night, and he disappeared for a while. We're like, where the hell did he go, right? He had used his belt and latched it on this log and dragged this massive log all the way back to the campground.
I love it.
And we ended up, it was hilarious. I have this like great video of just this giant log on top of our little fire. We just threw the whole log on the fire.
Oh, that's great.
And so we
Burned
ended up
for
calling
5
him,
hours, right? Yeah.
Yeah, we ended up calling him Wood.
That's great.
Yeah, and so he even said like because there was other clubs there, and the other clubs were like other prospects were like, well, let me help you. He's like, no, I got to do this on my own. And it was really good. He's a good member now.
One of my favorite ones was, and he's like the nicest guy. We have this guy in our club. He has this spitting image. I mean, he is like an identical twin brother to the singer Meatloaf, right?
Oh, really?
I mean, he looks exact lamb chops. I mean, I'm telling you, like if he went on stage, people would think he's. I mean, he is a identical twin, right? And so he was patching into the club. But what had happened was, while he was still a prospect, we got contacted by this organization off our website, and they were a traveling troupe of entertainers that would travel the country, and they would bring arts to different communities and their show was designed to basically provide arts to the community that normally wouldn't go see the arts. Okay. So instead of like, most people would be like, I'd never go to the opera, I'd never go to a classical concert or ballet. What they did was it was more, I wouldn't say like a vaudeville show, but it was like small segments of every one of those elements, and they made it very entertaining for the masses. And so it was this traveling group, and what they did was, as part of their marketing, every city they traveled to, they did a photo shoot. They had a photography company that followed them, and they did a photo shoot for their marketing of something very obscure. So like when they were in, like things that just don't go together. Yeah. So when they were in LA, they found a bunch of ranchers out there, and they did a photo shoot with a bunch of like opera singers singing with cowboys, right? Yeah. And it was brilliant and well done photos. So they contacted us and they said, listen, we want to get a ballerina to stand or do something on a motorcycle. So we put it all together. We went out to like a remote location, and so I'll post the photo in the video here. But we all stood around. We didn't have a name at the time, Meatloaf's bike, right? But he didn't know his name was Meatloaf. So so we had them all standing around his bike, and he looks kind of like that biker look, you know? So we got Meatloaf next to his bike, and we had this tiny little, she's like 80 pounds soaking wet, this little ballerina standing on point on his bike, and he's like sitting there like all tough and everything, right? And it was this great photo shoot, and then all the rest of us were kind of like shadowed out behind him, right? Kind of like looking over the sun. And it was a great photo. So when it came time to give him his road name, he was patching in. We had voted him in, the whole thing. It was time to give him his road name. And I had 2 patches made, one with Meatloaf on it, but he didn't know that. The other one I had made was in pink, and I had it was Tutu. Right? So we were all there, and we're like, okay, funny. We've got, congratulations, you're patching in, here's your cut, here's your colors and everything. Today we got your road name for you, and your name is, and I played it totally straight. And I don't even think any of the club knew it either. I said, your name is Tutu. And he just took it, and everybody's like, yeah, Tutu, they're like, and he takes his patch, and he's like, okay. And he turns around and he's sitting down. I'm like, okay, so let's go on with the rest of the meeting. And we're having church, right? And meanwhile, he's sitting there. I could see him because he's sitting across the room, and he is fuming. I mean, just fuming mad. And he told me later on, he says, I almost quit the club because I hated that name so much. But I was like, I'm sitting there and I'm like, you know, I put my time in and I'll learn to embrace this, but God, man, this is like the worst road name I could ever get. And so everybody's playing it straight, right? You know, everybody, like nobody had any idea. And I'm trying to keep a straight face this whole time because I'm trying to conduct a meeting for another half an hour. And so finally we're wrapping up and I said, okay, got one last thing of business, new business to cover. And so I said, you know, Tutu, get up here. And he comes walking up.
Tutu.
Yeah. And I come walking up and I said, your name's not Tutu. I said, here's your name. It's Meatloaf. And he's just like,
oh,
yeah, like 1,000 pounds came off his back. And I think he took that tutu when he threw it on the floor and he's like, F this, you know? And he goes back and he was all happy because he loved the Meatloaf name. So we actually have in the clubhouse, we have his old tutu patch still on the wall. You know?
Nice.
It's just a way to remember it. And it was a good laugh, but it was just it was a great way just to kind of get a little joke in on him. And he was mad. He was like, I really don't want this name, but it made for a great memory. So, you know, every once in a while we rib him a little bit, tutu, you know?
And that's the whole point of it.
Yeah.
So here's another aspect, not to compare people to dogs,
right?
But or an animal, I guess you just say. Have you ever named an animal? Or no? Okay, let's go with people. No offense to the Richards out there, but have you met any Richard that actually goes by Dick?
Yes,
that isn't a dick.
No.
Exactly.
So there's a guy in Vegas here. He's with a club, and I'll just say it. Hopefully he doesn't get mad. Because his road name is this. His road name is Dickhead. I swear to you. But it's spelled D-I-K, so it's not like D-I-C-K.
And his name's Richard?
I don't know if it's. I don't actually know if it is.
Yeah.
But I remember the first time I heard that, like, oh yeah, there's a new guy in their club. His new officer. His name's Dickhead, and everybody's like, you know, like, how do you not laugh at that? Yeah. But he embraces it.
No.
You know,
so what I was getting at was
it's all good, right?
So might be careful what you name people because. Not without saying names. I know some people you name them and it's like they take it far and then it's like a new personality.
Right.
And it could be bad. Like if you name someone
jerk or an insult or something.
Crazy. Maybe they're crazy. They start being crazy and then you've got to deal with that.
Yeah, they start to embrace that name.
So like you got to be careful with that. So the point is embrace the name.
Right.
It's a loving gesture, I would say, from the other members in your club.
Right.
And have fun with it too. You know.
But why do we have why do we? But let's explain that. But hey, before we do, please like and subscribe this channel. It really helps us a lot. Click the link below just to subscribe. We love to help to create more videos, and so that's how we do it.
And a thumbs up too. Or that's the like the video. The bell. That's the one.
There you go. Click that. The notification bell.
That lets you know when we have videos.
That every time we release a new one, you get a notification. But so why do we come up with these names, right? So there's a lot of reasons why. The most easiest of which is it provides a certain level of anonymity.
Yeah.
So, you know, this way there might be some, and I know some clubs that don't do road names at all.
Yeah.
You know, they just want to know what your real name is. And in fact, if you introduce yourself to some 1% clubs I've run into and you say, hi, my name's Picasso, they're going to look at it and you go, I don't care what that name is.
Yeah.
What's your real name?
Yeah.
And because they don't go by road names. But the reason a lot of times we do it is for anonymity. I know people that I've met in the motorcycle community. I know them really well. I know where they live. I know their family. I know everything about them.
Yeah.
I don't know their real name. And I just know them by their road name, right? And that's an interesting way of looking at it. But there's that. It provides an element of anonymity.
Yeah.
The other reason a lot of times is you might have a club as it starts to grow and you might have, you know, 2 Mikes, you might have 3 Richards, you might have, you know, 2 Johns, right?
Yeah.
So you know, that gets confusing. But
the other side is you might have 5 Hollywoods.
Right, that's true too.
So if you're in your own club, try not to get the Hollywoods going, or the same names.
Yeah, no same names in the same club.
But I get what you're saying. And you know, you look, as always, I like to go back to the culture and where it came from.
Yeah.
You know, road names are like a newer, modern way of doing it. But back in the day, like Bike Riders, a video we did.
On the movie, yeah.
Funny Sonny was an actual person that rode with the Outlaws. He was in the Hells Angels from California, and they called him Funny Sonny. Sonny was his name.
Yeah.
But they just added funny onto it. So it wasn't like
more of a nickname
road
than,
name. Yeah, and that was a lot of it.
That's kind of why we come up with these road names.
Yeah.
But and again, it's not something you're choosing. It's something that's kind of, you know, awarded onto you, right?
Yeah.
And then, you know, and learn to keep it and embrace it and have fun with it.
Definitely,
but that becomes your name and it's your identity, right?
Yeah,
so
exactly.
Whether you like it or not, it's usually, in the long run, it's a good thing.
Have you ever seen the episode of Seinfeld where George gets his name and he hates it and he's trying to get a different name, but he keeps making it worse by doing... That's kind of the same idea.
Yeah,
so also, if you want a name, like let's say you wanted Hollywood, don't choose Hollywood, please. No,
right.
But don't try for it because you won't get it. That will be the first thing they will not name you.
Yeah, never try to tell your club, like, here's something I would like, you know?
Yeah.
Like, we had a member of our club, and this is another funny one. I've met 1,000 cowboys, right? Especially out where we live. The cowboy is like, grows on trees, that name, right? But we have a member of our club who's a cowboy. We call him Cowboy, right? Yeah. And his girlfriend at the time, we were already going to call him that, but his girlfriend at the time was like, you should call him Cowboy. You should call him Cowboy. We're like, oh, we'll think about it. We already were going to call him that. Yeah. And the reason we're going to call him that was because he calls rodeos. He's lived that lifestyle his whole life. I mean, the guy, I always laugh every time. He's kind of a larger-than-life guy, super nice guy. But every time he gets off his bike, he's got his cowboy hat on and everything. Right? It's Cowboy. So, you know, for him, it fits, right? I think that's true with a lot of the other cowboys that are out there. But it really fits him well, and it's a great name for him. That's why we call him that.
Yeah, we had a retired member named Pisser.
Oh, wow, okay. And I know another pisser.
He had a what do they call that? It's the bag you strap to your leg to pee in, and the catheters.
Like a colostomy bag?
Yeah. And so they named him Pisser.
Wow, that's cool. Well, if he embraced it, that's good. I guess, right?
I mean, they love. I mean, again, it's about embracing it because it's not to be a dick. It's
not to be insulting.
It's a gesture. It's like I don't want to say respect you enough to give you a goofy name, but like it's just somewhere along those lines of like it's all love and fun. You know?
Well, it's like how I got my name at the time. Our president who gave it to me was drunk, but his heart was in the right place, which is why he came up with that name. So it's like that's why I've embraced. You know, that's how you have to look at it, right?
Exactly.
So whether you're Hollywood or Picasso or anybody else.
Well, that does it, I guess.
Cool. Thanks again for watching our video. Be sure to like and subscribe to our channel. It really helps us out. Click the notification bell so you can get alerted every time we come out with a video. But we do release them once a week. So be sure to like and subscribe so you can get all of our videos on all kinds of different topics. Let's do our traditional shot here. Cheers.
Cheers.
Through our Harley glass. Thanks again for watching. Have a great week, and we'll see you on the next video.
Always throwing that in my face.
I know.